Oh my God, I'm reading your story right now. Oh my God. I would have freaked out.
Yes,
It was
folks.
the first story on my feed.
Well, there you go.
Yes, folks. It's Thursday, 2 p.m. I'm Fred McMurray, which means this has to be.
Woo! Happy Friday Eve. And welcome.
Happy Friday Eve. Couldn't
Yeah,
come soon
welcome to
enough this
Pillars
week
of
for some.
Franchise. Sorry, Elizabeth.
Yes.
We have this thing about talking on top of each other. It's maddening.
We need to stop that.
We do. So welcome everybody to another episode of Pillars of Franchising. We've got a great show for you here today, and we're flying at about full staff. I think the only one we're going to be missing today is Karen. So welcome aboard. Get ready for a great show. And remember, our call-in number is 323. Tell me if I'm reading it wrong. My eyes are bad. 580-5755. Did I do that right?
That's it. I actually finally have it memorized.
That tells me it's time to put on the spectacles. Fantastic. So Elizabeth, word on the street today. We're talking about the magic word that Fred loves.
Marketing.
Awesome. So one of the things that we were reading about today was local marketing. And we bring this up because a lot of people that I've been talking to recently and helping them find franchises want to know what does the franchisor help with when you're buying into a brand? Because I think a lot of people believe that part of that royalty is intended to go towards marketing, but that's not really the case at all.
Yeah.
Especially local marketing, right? And that's what we're talking specifically about today.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important part, and there is some national marketing depending on the franchise that you're in. And name recognition is clearly a big deal if you have a bigger name recognizable franchise. But local marketing is often something that's overlooked. And there's a report out. Let me get the name of it. The 2022 Localized Marketing Benchmark Report, which has a lot of good information in it about the importance of local marketing. Some highlights.
Sochi actually put that out, and they were one of the large sponsors at the IFA convention this past couple of months ago in San Diego. And for those of you who aren't really familiar with what they do, they're probably going to kill me how I describe it, but in my layman's terms, kind of an overseer of all things marketing from a social media perspective, local marketing perspective. They really, in this particular report, we're pulling a whole bunch of data together to really look at how effective local marketing is, and really to make sure that people could easily understand why it's so important. Even if you buy the national brand, how driving that brand on a local level is so important.
Yeah, so they had a bunch of benchmarks and things that they analyzed. They analyzed social, they analyzed reputation, and they analyzed search. And one of the things, I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but on the local Google search, when you're searching for something, you only get the top 3 that are in your initial little list, right? So what they have discovered is that they call it the Google 3-pack. Businesses in that 3-pack, in the top 3 in your local search, receive 126% more traffic and 93% more action, which would be a call, a website click, or those sorts of things, than the others, than those who are not on that list. I think that's something that can't be underestimated, for one thing. But they also ranked a whole lot of other measurements. So what they found is that the more local marketing you do, clearly the better off you're going to be.
That's right.
So what they're saying too is 40% of the top businesses are more likely to appear in the Google 3-pack. So the ones that they ranked, the top 40 of their ranking list are more likely to be in the 3-pack. 215% have more, in their top list, the businesses have 215% more reviews than the average. And so I think you can't ever, and anytime I've worked in marketing and agency work and everything, we've talked a lot about getting Google reviews.
Yep, that's right.
Because not everybody focuses on that. And if you're like me, I look at a review before I do anything.
Yeah, I mean,
before you buy a product, you know.
Sure. Yeah, if it doesn't have 4 stars or above, I'm not in. And as a business owner, the flip side, I understand the flip side very well, and I understand how your Google ratings can really be sandbagged if you have a few angry people out there that you don't address, and they don't, even when the problem is rectified, if you don't go back and ask them to re-review you, it's like a dead weight. So it tends to weigh those numbers down. But the one thing I wanted to really point out, and you know, lately with the pandemic at all, one thing that I think across the country we've all tried to do anyway is band together to support small business. And I think, you know, I'll use my brand as an example, as Molly Maid, right? It's this big national brand, everybody knows it. But most people, when you're looking to support small business, they want to know who owns that. And the local marketing is where you really engage in your community. You give back to your community. The community that most of us operate in are the communities that you hire your people from. And so the whole local slant to marketing, I think, is really, really important. And so when you're sitting down with, whether it's a consultant or you're doing your budgets, you know, on your own, or you're working with a franchisor, keep in mind that there is a great portion of your marketing budget that really does need to go into your local marketing fund. And those things become very, very, very important as money becomes tighter for people and they're more conscientious about where they spend their money.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things that you always say is, as a small business owner, becoming a part of the fabric of your community is very important to you. And I think that, you know, sponsoring local teams, there are creative, less expensive ways that you can become a part of that community.
Yes.
And I live in a very small town outside of Mobile, but where I actually live is a tiny little town. And those people who get involved in those local community events, they sponsor a truck in a parade. We have parades like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Those little things are where the local people are going to see you. So there are so many creative ways, aside from just digital marketing, that you can get your name out there and really make your community feel like you're a part of it.
That's right. So the total message here is, yes, your franchisors often help you with national branding. Sometimes it'll be regional branding, but really to bring it all home, so to speak, if you want to become that fabric of the community that I always talk about, it's about getting local. It's about getting out there and making sure that they see a name with the brand so that they understand it's Kristin that runs Molly Maid in this area. If there's a problem, I'm not calling a 1-800 Molly Maid number. I'm calling Kristin to get things taken care of. So make sure that you look at that as you move forward in your journey to look for a franchise and or continue running the franchise you have. Don't ever underestimate the power of local. And with that, we have a super fun guest today. And there he is.
Welcome, Josh.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
I'd like to begin by reading Josh's bio. It's a really good one. From his parents' dining room to an international brand, GYMGUYZ founder and CEO Josh York, an American dream come true. As 14 years ago, Josh York was sitting at his parents' dining room table, hammering out the idea that would become GYMGUYZ, a mobile in-home fitness training provider today boasting over, and I assume it's more than 150 now, locations across 30 states and 3 countries. GYMGUYZ is the largest personal training company in the world. Josh, who believes sleep is the enemy and subscribes to 4 to 5 hours a night, with a 4-hour workout followed by a sauna at 31 degrees.
Woo!
No, thanks. Anyway,
That's actually an ice bath. It's an ice bath every day. It's at 27 degrees, and my sauna is at 180 degrees.
He said he wasn't going to be denied his dream, and it's been an incredible journey to devising visionary business plans that where his mom served dinner and today is rubbing shoulders with major disruptors in the and presence makes him one of the most sought out motivational speakers of the day. Josh is a true entrepreneur driven by passion, no stranger to risk, and a leader who knows the value of building a strong culture with a commitment to being the best. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you very much, Ray. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I just have to say, like the limited sleep, I was totally down with that like 20 years ago because that was the lifestyle I lived. But now I have to be honest, I'm a little intimidated by you. And I don't get intimidated easily. I'm like, wow, this guy's like no sleep, hyperactive, these ice beds, like explain.
Listen, when you seek discomfort on a daily basis,
yeah,
you allow yourself to become more comfortable. You allow yourself to put yourself through difficult challenges. When, you know, look, when you're in business, you know, I like to give this as an example of being in business. You're laying down on the road and an 18-wheeler truck drives over you, then stops, then goes back in reverse. Then you get a break for like 20, 30 minutes, and then it happens all over again because business is not easy. Easy to say, not easy to do. And honestly, I believe business is 80% mindset. And if you don't have the right mindset, you're never going to succeed because the majority of people fold like cheap chairs. And, you know, I like to seek discomfort through fitness. And, you know, I do believe the cure for everything is movement. I don't, I actually don't even subscribe to sickness. Like I've never taken a sick day in my life. I rarely ever get sick. And if I do, I still jump in my ice bath. I still do my routine every day because you know what? At the end of the day, those days that you don't want to do it are the most important days that you have to do it. And the problem is, this is why most people are weak. And weak people never get anywhere. And I am the farthest thing from being normal. And I like to say, you know, people like to say, wow, you're such a type A person. I like to say I created type C, which is crazy because normal never works.
So, Josh, were you ever in the military? Because this sounds like a regiment.
Never.
Wow.
Never. But I promise you one thing: if they put me through the Navy SEALs, I'll complete it, no problem. I guarantee. No problem. No problem.
I'm thinking. So, with this intensity, let's talk about. I mean, obviously, it's seething from you. I can feel it through the airwaves here that you have this intensity about you. But how do you go about finding the right fit in your franchisees? Do you look for someone just like you? Do you look for somebody that compliments you? What are you looking for?
No one's like me, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that in like a full of myself manner. I'm just being honest. There's no one like me. It's just not going to happen. What do I look for? I ask myself a couple questions. Number one is, would I trust this person around my children? That's the first question I ask. The second question is, would I actually have this person over my house for dinner? If I'm about to, I don't refer to our franchise. We'll say franchisees in this term. The term I always use is franchise partners. We're partners because we're in this together. So if I'm going to be in business together with you as a partner, it's got to make sense. Like it's got to work. Like if you're not going to be able to, you know, have a good understanding and embody our core values and understand the pillars of success. You know, we use the words fuel your drive. That's the name of my book. It's the name of my podcast. You know, fuel is the 4 pillars of success: fun, unity, earnings, and leadership. And drive, those are our core values. And obviously you can't drive anywhere without fuel. Drive is determination, respect, integrity, versatility, and excellence. So those are the things I ask myself. And, you know, it's funny, like, you know, over the years, people would laugh at, like, you know, the way I do things sometimes, but it works because honestly, when you think of someone who's a real high level professional, you know, in their career, and they're very professional, you know, that person does have friends and does have family and does like to have fun and act silly, or everyone likes to have fun, but you got to get deeper and dig deeper into that person so you can understand what they're about. So, you know, because everything in this world works on relationships. That's it. That's the key to everything. You know, people think you you have to be a boss. Like that word is the most degrading word to me. Like everyone knows you don't call me a boss. I hate that word.
Yeah.
Like I'm the guy who was literally just cleaning urine off the toilet the other day. And someone actually said, why are you doing that? You're the CEO. Because I do things like that.
Yeah,
I want representation. I want people you need to lead by example. Like my children, I don't tell them anything. They do everything because they follow what daddy does.
Yeah.
I'm sending my kids to you.
I have a saying I tell my managers: if you have to tell somebody I'm the boss, you're not.
Listen,
Right.
real leaders eat last. Real leaders obviously get excited when you can do something great for that person on your team. That's a real leader, and real leaders don't crumble under pressure. A real leader is a good actor. You can never let your team feel your true emotions, no matter what. Like during the pandemic, I didn't furlough or lay off anyone, and it was very difficult. But what's going to happen? Am I going to die? Like what's going to happen? No, you figure it out. There's always a solution, no matter what. It's just you just never have to quit. You can't quit. That's it. You can't quit.
So Josh, would you say that the majority of your franchisees are super into fitness and kind of the same mindset as yourself? I mean, how do you go about attracting people? I mean, you're the first truly crazy person, as you've used that word, that I've met who has this regimen. I could never do that.
Well, you're actually wrong. You could do it. You could do it. It's believing you could do it. Whatever you believe you can achieve, and you can definitely do it.
That's a good point.
So you're definitely wrong on that one, but I still got love for you. But no, so our franchise owners, the majority of our franchise owners don't have fitness experience.
Really?
They come from all different aspects of life, career paths, from tech to principals in schools to athletes. It's really all over the place. Look, we get all those awards every year, the Entrepreneur 500 and all that stuff's great. The real award I like to talk about is when you get a call from a mother of an autistic child that we've been working with that's been low functioning, and because of our work and the movement we're doing, they're now functioning at a high level. That's an award.
Yes.
So people who want to make a difference and change lives and also be able to make a living, I like to always say it's great to make a living, but it's great to make a difference. Those are the type of people we want, because anyone can operate a business, but you want to be able to make an impact.
Right.
And that's what our brand is able to do, because at the end of the day, human interaction is never going anywhere. And without accountability, you're never going to get great results. You need someone to hold you accountable. Just like, I've been mentored by the best in the world, because I am like a sponge. I want to get smarter every single day. I don't have all the answers.
Sure.
And then you have to also surround yourself with those smart people so you can make sure you don't make the mistakes they made and you follow in their footsteps. And that's very important.
Yeah. So why don't we talk a little bit about what you do as a franchisor to support your franchisees who let's say it's me, right, who doesn't believe I can get up at 4 a.m. and go on an ice bed. What do you do to help me get into this model?
So look, what's very important that we do is, we have obviously our training, we have our continuous training, we're doing quarterly calls, like State of the Union calls, we have our support team, we're using other franchise partners to mentor, newer owners. And, at the end of the day, we want people leading by example, because like I always like to say, good leaders will always create other good leaders. Are you going to have low performers? Yeah, that's the world. You're going to have that everywhere. But sometimes you're able to influence through action to motivate other people. So sometimes, like I always say, you never know who's watching you. You never know who's paying attention. That's why you should always do the right thing and always get after it every day, because you're going to be inspiring someone you don't even know. Like I got a message on Instagram about, I don't know, maybe 7-8 months ago, and it like took my breath away, actually. It was a young kid. His name was Jared, and he was somewhere in the Mid-South. His parents both passed away. They were drug addicts. He would be left at home without food for weeks. Like, the story was horrible. And he actually told me he turned his life around because of me. He's been following me, and I've been his inspiration. And he's like, man, it would mean the world to me if you could respond. But if you can call me, man, I'd love that. As soon as I saw that message, because I'm not like fake like these other people. I'm real. I called him right away. This guy's crying on the phone. It was the most touching, moving moment, probably besides when I had my children in my life, that I helped this young boy. So that's why you have to lead by example and,
Sure.
and don't fake it. Get after it every day. And you can also influence other people in your franchise system just by taking action.
So tell me a little bit about GYMGUYZ. So you are a personalized trainer or personal trainer. You guys go out to the home, right, for private training.
So we show up in a beautiful vehicle. This van is so beautiful. You've never seen anything like it in your life. It is just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And it sticks out like a sore thumb, right? So branding is there, the awareness is there. Inside that vehicle, we have enough equipment to provide you a fantastic workout, 365 days a year. We pride ourselves and back ourselves by our 3 C's because our workouts are convenient, customized, and creative. And we service clients anywhere, right? We bring it to you, your home, office, pool, park, place of worship, hospital, senior homes, corporations, you name it, anywhere. What do? We help you achieve your fitness goals, right? And some of those goals might be so simple, just to create more movement, work on your balance, strengthen your core, whatever it may be. But we help you do that. And you've always been able to get your food delivered, your cleaners delivered. You were never able to get your workout delivered. We created this new category, and here we are, and we're disrupting the industry. We're never going to stop, and we're going to continue to, follow our vision, and that's changed people's lives all over the world.
That's awesome. And tell me, you're obviously, do you have any brick and mortar in the model, or is it all
no brick and mortar? No,
okay.
See, the brick and mortar is too expensive. Okay,
Right.
You're limited to a certain amount of area that you can't expand out of. You have to sit there all day long. You're strapped there. Our model provides flexibility, right? You just mentioned some things earlier on in the show about marketing, right? We say OTC and scream it loud. Own the community. You have to own the community. You got to get out there, build relationships, be at you need to be in front of people's faces. You got to create, you remember that song, Can I Get an OPP? So we like to say presence. You need omnipresence. You have to be in front of people because just like you get impressions online, you need to get impressions in your market. So that's the great thing about our model, because we're constantly on the move, and it gets out there even stronger and at a faster pace.
In your bio, you said you had 150 locations. How many is it now?
We're at 175 locations.
175?
Yeah, we're going to be, we will add another 35 to 40, maybe a little bit more by the end of this year. We've been really heavily focused on working on some things to increase our profitability, to increase more revenue streams for our franchise partners. So we're starting to really put the pedals to the metal again on the sales side, but I wanted to put some other things in place so I can even get my newer owners ramping up even faster than the older ones.
Yeah. So Josh, tell us, because and we have people that are looking for franchises, obviously at all different price points. Do you go based on a geographic territory? How do you set that up?
Yes.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yep. All of our territories are based on, income qualifiers. So 30,000 approved households would be one location. The majority of our owners do multi-units because it's opportunity to grow. It's opportunity to promote, obviously, within.
Yep.
So that's how we set it up. And, this is all based on demos and psychographics.
Okay. And what does it cost somebody who might be interested in this model and to come and help you grow?
66,000 to 131. And that's where the difference is really territories.
Wow. Sure.
That's pretty good.
Excellent.
Yeah, listen, I've had people be able to do some great things and make that money back very quickly. So, the average business doesn't make a return for 3-4 years. People have done it faster. Listen, it's all up to you, right? It's yours to lose. If you want to make things happen, I like to say you got to be patient with results and impatient with action. You just have to take action. The money makers are the action takers. That's it.
Right. And do you typically find that that the owner would have a staff that works with them, or is it usually owner operate? Okay, so you got a staff. Okay.
You're going to hire trainers, and then we have a career path in place because coming from being a trainer myself and working in the gym, the great thing is when you're, look, unless you're going on Undercover Boss, the chances of you moving up the ranks in a gym is very, very, it's slim to none. The majority of people are going to crash right into that brick wall because there's not much room for opportunity. So we actually create a career path for them to actually grow from a trainer to a territory manager, an area manager, a GM. We have people who partner with franchise partners who are split on other locations or given equity. There's been so many different scenarios that have been done, but it gives opportunity to grow, right? Most people call being a trainer a job. This is not a job, it's a career. You have a real opportunity here to grow.
Yeah, almost a complete lifestyle too, from
Yes.
listening to you. I mean, it is definitely a lifestyle that you want to make sure that you, kind of align with. So excellent. Okay.
You also bring meals to the home. Is that correct?
We do, yeah. We have a partnership with one of the largest organic meal companies in the world. So yes, we also obviously are really heavy on the nutritional side, so that helps as well. Our service is only going to continue to get stronger and provide more opportunity for our clients to reach their goals, have a good time doing it, and feel great, right?
Yeah. So that sounds pretty comprehensive, including weight loss and as well as bulking up or whatever.
Yep. Absolutely. So tell us, Josh, if somebody's interested in your model, how do we go about contacting you and finding out more information?
Yeah, you can go to our website, GYMGUYZ.com. You can Google us on GYMGUYZ. If you're looking for more information from me, you just type in handsome on Google. I pop up. I'm the top person right at the top. So, that's very easy to find me. Those are just for smiles. But anyway, yeah. So, GYMGUYZ.com, and you click on franchising.
Excellent. Well, we really thank you for your time. We understand you're extremely busy and you have so much energy. I have to imagine that it's hard for you to sit still this long.
I can never sit still. I'm always on the move. I don't even drink coffee. I've actually never smoked a cigarette. I've never been drunk, and I've never drinking a cup of coffee in my life.
Wow. Well, I can't say those same things, but I do have to thank you for being on the show, and I can't wait to talk to you again as you continue to grow your brand.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and you'll have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too, Josh.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, franchise owners. How's your local marketing? Do you feel like you could use some help keeping up with your social media posts and comments and reviews? Do you wonder if you could be doing more to attract local customers? Are you able to identify new move-ins to your local area? At Westvine, we help franchisees like you reach more local customers through digital marketing. With daily monitoring, creative content, and ad placement, and customer intelligence, we'll get your business in front of the people who want your products or services. We also work with franchisors who need an agency to handle the digital marketing for all of their locations. If you're ready to reach more local customers, give us a call at 805-265-5440 or visit us at westvine.com. That's 805-265-5440 or westvine.com.
Hi, Jerry.
Hey, Kristin, how are you?
Well, I feel old and lazy and out of shape. I feel like a massive underachiever, if you want to know the truth.
Well, I think Josh blew us all away, and I'm hoping our listeners got that feeling too, because I want to get done with this, and then I want to go like jog or something, do something physical.
What's funny is I was thinking, I can't wait to go crack open that bottle of wine. Okay. But what a cool, he has this amazing energy, and clearly, I can't believe he wasn't in the military. He's got that kind of drive and what's the word I'm looking for? He's on it, right? Super organized, super intense.
Very charismatic, very organized, really stays focused. He would be the epitome of a great franchisee. And then you put him as a franchisor, leading franchisees. And whether he was in the military or not, I can see him leading a charge into battle or something like that. So I get it.
Well, what's interesting is that brings us exactly into the subject that we're talking about today. And that's about choosing the right franchise. Right. And so I think that Josh was a great person to have on right before this conversation, because as I'm sitting here dreaming of a bottle of wine that's waiting for me, you're thinking, oh, well, I got to go out and exercise. And so I think it takes all types, and depending on the model and your personality, that's where you find the marriage that works or doesn't. Right.
Well, Kristin, so much of what I talk about on the show anymore is related to questions I get during the week as I'm coaching franchisees around the country in different systems and things like that. And this is one that's been coming up quite often recently, because you know it as well as anybody, your friends who might think about becoming a franchisee come to you because you are a franchisee and want to know, how do I choose the right franchise or something like that? And then you are maybe not qualified or prepared to have that conversation. So you send them somewhere else. Hopefully all of those people are sending them to Pillars of Franchising so that we can help them.
That's right.
But the first thing, when people ask me that question, Kristin, the very first thing I ask is, what do you want out of being a franchisee?
Yeah.
Because as we just talked, Josh's business is so much different than other businesses, other franchise systems. You've got home-based as well as brick and mortar. You've got all the different categories. So, auto care, food, different categories of food, personal service, all the things like your brand represents, Sure. I mean, there's just tons of things. So what does a potential franchisee want to accomplish by becoming a franchisee? What are their goals? Yeah. And really, that feeds so much into how that conversation goes.
Yeah. And, like very similar to yours, I always say, what do you see yourself doing in 5 to 10 years? Like, where do you want to be? Because I tend to get a lot of folks that are, they've got young children, right? And so, if you take somebody with young children, they have one goal or vision of where they'll be in 5 to 10 years versus somebody who maybe their kids have just graduated college and they're ready to make that shift out of corporate America. They've got a different vision of a 5 to 10 year plan as well.
Well, and Kristin, it also wraps into what does your income needs look like? What do your income needs look like? Because that may be a part of which brand you choose. It may be a part of the types of things you do. How many units do you want? How big do you want to be? There's a long list of things. Yeah. How involved do you want to be? And so we've got to work through that process, that Q&A process with a potential franchisee. When you do brokerage type things, I'm sure you do some of that.
Yep, absolutely. And a lot of it is really helping people uncover what they're really good at and what they don't like to do or maybe aren't so strong in through some of the surveys and I'll call them analytics that we do. And those tend to be really interesting too, because a guy like Josh, his franchise system may have also identified what is their utopia in terms of a franchisee. And so what's really cool is when you can match what the franchisor says they're looking for in their top 2% of owners. And then you take these candidates who are looking for a brand and you say, oh my gosh, your results match this franchise right in line. And I think that even if in some cases, even if it's not something that's on their radar, listen, house cleaning was not on my radar, but it turned out to be a great choice for me for so many different reasons. But had I not gone through that profile, that set of questions, it would have never happened, right?
Well, Kristin, needless to say, hairstyling was never on my radar either. So I totally get what you're saying about, but back to your point, what you go through as a broker if you don't have a franchisee prepared to answer those questions, you have to have multiple meetings with them, right? So if we get a chance to talk to them ahead of time and help them go through that analysis and that discovery process, then they're much more prepared to have a discussion with you or another broker that they're working with or corporate, right?
Sure,
and so trying to decide and painting a picture. So our story, as you well know, we only wanted one Great Clips. It was just to subsidize our retirement. And now we've got 36 across 2 states, probably growing again in the near future.
Yeah.
My daughters run it. I mean, it became multi-generational. Some of those questions I couldn't have answered back when we started.
That's right.
So, but getting people to think about as you said, what's the next 5, 10, 20 years look like? What are your goals? When do you want to retire? How do you want to retire? All of those things, in my opinion, should be part of that discovery process.
Absolutely. And those are things that really, if you're working with a consultant, can be discussed and should be discussed before a brand is ever even presented, right? Because there's a lot that goes into that. So tell me, you've been working a lot with these mentees of yours, and have you found that many of them are happy with the brands they've chose. They're uncertain if it's the right choice. What are you hearing out there?
Kristin, it's a little bit of the glass half full analogy, because on the surface, I would say virtually all of them are happy with the brand that they chose.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're human beings, so they're not happy with the brand they chose. There are things about it,
Sure.
They wish the corporate did this, or they wish they did something else, or whatever the case may be, because that's what we do as human beings. But if you really boil it down, they're very happy with it. They just wish corporate would do more. And in many cases, they don't understand there are certain things because of the legal system or governmental regulations that corporate can't do. But as a smaller franchisee, if you're not in tune with all of those things, it's virtually impossible. And we're going to have Laura on in a minute, and she can maybe touch base on the legal side of that a little bit. But the fact is, franchisees by and large don't follow that closely enough. So they're happy on the surface. They really believe in it, but there's just some odds and ends they'd like to correct. And actually, when I ask them questions about the things they would like to change and maybe drop a few tidbits of education on them, they really say, "Oh, I love my brand. I just had to complain about something."
Well, and I think that's the human nature part that you prefaced. But I always like to tell people, I've had some people that have been really down on the brand, and when you really delve into it, what you find out is that they're not really involved in the brand. So they own it, they run it, but they're not necessarily leading, and they don't get involved in their franchise community, right? They're not engaging with their local support or the regional support that the franchisor provides, and they're not engaging maybe with their, I call them the neighbors, right? The neighboring owners that could really help them maybe get out of that funk and see a different side of the same coin, So I think those are important things to mention to people too. You have to get involved.
Well, so many times the involvement's a big part of it, but also, corporate many times, depending on the brand that you're with, they'll have weekly seminars, or they'll do videos, or there's a lot of education available on their online portal or something. And when franchisees are complaining, I say, have you gone and researched that? Have you used the tools? And literally 100% of the time they say, oh, no, I haven't done that yet. Well, before you complain, go and use that. And a little pitch for IFA, because the International Franchise Association has a myriad of educational things on different categories within franchising. So lots of tools out there, Kristin, if people want to take advantage of it. And again, as we do every week, this is a great time to get into franchising. Franchising is somewhat recession proof. Many of the franchise brands grow during recessions. So there's money available. And as we know, being pillars, there's lots of support available out there. So if you're thinking about becoming a franchisee, if you only want to have a conversation with somebody, get a hold of Pillars. We'll be happy to have that conversation with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's absolutely free to those of you who are looking to do that. So Jerry, thank you again so much for your time. It's nice to see you back from vacation. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week with yet more useful information for our folks out there.
Thank you, Kristin.
As usual, thank you for joining Pillars of Franchising. We appreciate every single one of you. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors, the Titus Center for Franchising at Palm Beach Atlantic University. You can find them on the college's website. Also, Franchise Show 247, which can be found at franchiseshow247.com. We couldn't do without our sponsors, and we appreciate their support. Don't forget, we love to have calling guests. Our number to call in is 323-580-5755. That is 323-580-5755. If you have questions for our guests or for any of our Million Dollar mentors, we welcome you to call in at any time on the show. We will do our very best to answer your calls. Stay tuned, more coming up.
Hi, Andrea. Yeah, you're on mute.
I am, yes.
There you go. So I was thinking that our subject today is aspirational leadership versus intimidating. And I think we kind of went over that a little bit with Josh, didn't we?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I think, that franchising is so appealing because you're joining a system that's usually inspired by someone's vision. And I think inherently there's got to be some level of aspiration with the leader. And, he's so interesting to me because at first you feel intimidated, but then as you get to know him a little bit further, even just through that brief interview that we listened to, he really believes in everybody's ability to accomplish something greater, and it doesn't feel like it has to be at the same level that he's at. And I was just thinking about his business model, and personal training naturally requires ongoing motivation. I mean, that's really what you're hiring someone to do.
That's
So
right.
I kind of see how that style of leadership would work in a system like his. It may not in, a different type of business, but the nature of personal training just requires that ongoing motivation.
I think one of the things that I like to do is keep an eye out on, and by knowing my employees and what they're more capable of doing than they think they are.
Mhm.
Does that make any sense to you? So I kind of look out for these little things that I see that, and all the office employees right now, all started in the field. And I just simply looked for things that, what, this person has a great way about the way they talk to customers. Maybe we should, have them do this. Or maybe they have a great way with numbers, so we'll have them do something else. And you got to constantly keep an eye out for what abilities that people have that sometimes they don't even know they have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny though. Like I do agree with you on that, but I, as a leader in the past, and I've been a CEO in a past life. I think what I learned about that experience was that I sometimes saw something in someone they didn't necessarily want. So I would make the mistake of pushing them to take on more because I just saw so much potential, but it wasn't necessarily their vision for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the tricky balance, is creating the opportunity, but not necessarily forcing them to take that opportunity.
Exactly.
Because otherwise there's not enough motivation.
You gave them the opportunity to excel. Okay. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wasn't a fit, and that's happened to me on at least 2 different occasions. I put somebody in a position and they said, Ray, this is really for me. I said, fine, move you right back wherever, whatever works for you.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately in franchising, the business model has to stand on its own. I mean, you can't grow to 175 units without there being strong unit economics. That has to be there. But what I think is probably instrumental in certainly in GYMGUYZ, but obviously in other businesses too, is that it can't be leaderless. And I think sometimes companies tend to think that role is interchangeable, like anyone can kind of step into it and take over. And in franchising, it doesn't really work that way from my experience, because franchisees typically are, especially in an emerging brand, they're buying into somebody's vision. That's what they're interested in, and they're interested in helping grow that vision. And I actually remember something I heard from David Hardy, who is the CEO of FranVest, who, I don't know if you are familiar with his story, but FranVest was, I think they took on Orange Theory when they had 5 locations and none of them were profitable, and grew them until the next event, the next big investment event occurred, and they're still involved. And he told me that, the CEO is the promise maker and the president is the promise keeper. And I love that, because I think in franchising, that relationship of having sometimes the founder or someone who just really believes in the concept really leads, I think, the direction of the company, whereas the president has to come in and kind of hold everybody accountable. And I'm curious how Josh does that. I think he probably is one of the few people that could do both, because I'm pretty sure that everyone's accountable under his leadership. I think, when we talk about intimidation, I'd be a little nervous if I didn't do something. But that being said, I also think he's quite motivating.
Yes.
And that's important in franchising. It can't be leaderless. That visionary is really, really important. And ultimately, what I heard him say was that, when Kristin said that she was, feeling exhausted or something like that by him, he really turned that around into believing in her.
Yes.
I thought that was remarkable. That's very difficult to do.
His energy is intimidating, but when you listen to him, it's, what he has to say, it kind of melts through that intimidation.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I was impressed. I think it's challenging to be a leader in a franchise system, and you certainly can't grow with a singular type of franchisee in mind, because a great system has to have diversity in terms of who it brings into the system, and a great system has to work with a lot of different skill sets. So I'm really interested in the model that he's created. I think it's quite brilliant, bringing it into people's homes. And I see now just that type of leadership working really, really well with a personal training business.
Well,
I also I'm going to seek more discomfort daily, although I can tell you that with 4 kids and summer holidays, I've felt a fair share of discomfort, parenting and fulfilling all the other obligations when kids aren't in school. But that was, I really liked how he talked about seeking discomfort makes you become more comfortable. I could see that being very motivational, especially in the industry that he's in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
I am Elizabeth Denham, the Chief Content Officer for Pillars of Franchising. And I'm telling you that because I am always looking for people with a great story in the franchising space. If you have a great story that you would like to share either in the magazine or on the show, you can fill out our contact form on pillarsoffranchising.com. Also, while you're there, be sure to subscribe to the magazine. You can choose all of the services that you might be interested in if you're looking to buy a franchise, sell a franchise, become a franchise, if you need mentorship, and if you need to get the word out about your business, we have a lot of variety of sponsorships for you. So be sure to visit our website, like, subscribe, and share this show. And we appreciate every comment and every engagement that you offer. So be sure to visit our website at pillarsoffranchising.com.
Hi, Laura.
Hey, Jerry, how are you?
I am doing excellent. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
I got to tell you, it is always so fun when you come on, for me, towards the end of the show after you've heard everything. So then you can incorporate whatever your subject is into some of the things that were said. And Josh talked about his business being a little bit more home-based and so on. And to me, home-based is just so interesting. But I know there's a lot of issues with the legal side of it and insurance and all those kinds of things related to home-based that is a little different than some of the other models. So can you talk about that a little bit today?
Yeah, good question, Jerry. I think it's important, when people are evaluating what kind of franchise they want, that they think about some of the different costs that they might have. And people will automatically understand, oh, okay, I'm going to have a building, I'm going to have rent. Or in this scenario, they're going to have the van, right? And he was describing that this van is, amazing. It's totally tricked out. It wouldn't surprise me if a van like that, is $100,000, $150,000. And, compared to a simple build out, that might actually be, similar, it might be on par. But to your point about insurance requirements, you don't have, obviously, you wouldn't be insuring a premises, but you do need to think about the fact that you're going to need to be carrying insurance on that vehicle, right? And it is a very valuable vehicle, right? So it's probably worth more than most people's car, unless, you've purchased something that's in the luxury segment. So that's something to think about. And I think a lot of folks, there's a tendency to try to, with insurance, right? Nobody wants to pay for insurance. Everybody hates admitting that they need insurance, right? But what we don't want to see in different home-based concepts is for our franchisees to ignore putting their people who drive, from place to place on their insurance coverage for vehicles. Okay. Even if they're driving their own vehicle, right? Even if it's not a system like GYMGUYZ where they don't have the tricked out, whatever. Even if they're driving their own, if that person is in an accident and they're found to be at fault, especially, you can almost be assured that when the person who was injured finds out that they were driving, to a customer, they're on their way, that they're going to try and pursue the business, or at least their plaintiff's attorney is. And you need to be ready for that. It's worth the peace of mind.
Well, you bring up a great point because we've got several company vehicles within our group. And one of our biggest fears is, a poor driver as an employee, liability against the business if that employee creates an accident or, worst case, injures another person or something like that. So your point is well taken that, many people don't think about that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's commonly overlooked. And when we're thinking about insurance requirements for home-based businesses, we think about that, but we also want to think about the fact that, this is someone who's going into the home. And in many states, not all, but if you're going into people's homes as a business owner, you should want, but the state may also require that you have bonding. And you're like, what's bonding? Bonding is basically like a special form of insurance. Okay. And insurance brokers sell it. It's not like hard to find or something. But basically it's going to be a requirement for things that are kind of an unusual scenario. So something that is frequently required or sold or you would want to have is something known as a fidelity bond. Okay. Which covers if there's an allegation of something being stolen. Right? Like, oh, my trainer was at my house, or oh, my cleaning person was at my house, and now my grandmother's, antique diamond earrings are missing, oh no. And if they really pursue it, you're gonna wish you had insurance compared to the cost of those earrings. Okay. And it's, these things do come up, and it's unavoidable. Right? It's hard to, say, no, it'll never happen. Right? So you want to explore that.
Well, and you bring up a good point, and I'm going to take it another direction, and I'm going to make you work today, Laura. So okay. We'll see what you have to say. And I know it varies state to state, but maybe you can give some kind of general ideas. In my business, dealing with primarily women and being a guy, I worry about, potential allegations if you're in a office setting, one-on-one meeting, something like that. So I'm thinking about, if you have clients coming into your home and it ends up being one-on-one, or in Josh's cases, going to their home and it's one-on-one, you have some liability, which may be covered a little bit under insurance. But I mean, there's a lot of intangibles when you get into that.
Yeah, I think this is where a really good, thoughtful insurance agent can be helpful for any business owner, but especially these ones that are going to have just one-on-one, contact, and there's probably no other witnesses. I hate to say it that way,
right?
But it's important, when you're thinking about it. There is coverage, for insurance that's known as employer practices liability coverage, EPL coverage. And that is something where, for the scenario that you're describing, that, supposedly there was, some kind of inappropriate touching, assault, whatever it is that sadly may have occurred. It's really important. We see that also. I've represented a number of franchisees who own different massage franchises, right? Massage Envy's, Hand and Stone, Lux Massage, all different kinds of those. I don't know why I have so many, but I do. I'm like you, Jerry. I have like 30 plus or something of these clients. And they, it's no one's fault, right? They do background checks. They do all the things that, you would say make common sense, like to check. But occasionally there will be a claim, and, they are grateful that they have insurance when those things come up.
Well, and what we do, and again, I know our state laws, what we do in the office setting is we have cameras. So that gives me some protection. I know state to state that varies a little bit, and certainly with a massage or something like that, there would be all kinds of issues with that. But in a general sense, do you have any comments about things like that that might protect an owner?
That's interesting. One of the things that has popped up, and you may know about this, is that there's actually a lot of people who have cameras in their homes,
Right.
which is not a fail-safe by any means, but it does, mean that you need to tell people who work for you that that may happen. You may want to even put it in their employment agreement, that, hey, you may be recorded, disclose that if people aren't comfortable with it. And then, I don't know that, especially in a fitness context, I can think of a lot of clients that wouldn't want to be recorded
Right.
for their whole workout, while they're huffing and puffing and, struggling. I don't know, myself included, I probably wouldn't want to be recorded the whole time. But it is something to think about that, if they may want to document, or at least have some kind of log, with the employee of saying, arrived at customer's home at, 9:52 a.m., left at this time, and even if it's not something that the customer is engaging in the logging, it may make sense both for just, how is the employee spending their time, but also, just, what happened when, you have some hope of a record.
Well, Laura, you bring up a good point about the huffing and puffing and not being taped, but at the same time, being the problem solver and the guy that thinks through all that, I'm thinking I would sell it to the client as you get a copy of it, and it's a way for me to coach you and continue to use that when I'm not there and things like that. But at the same time, you've got a copy to cover you, because you bring up a good point that, things can go wrong. And somebody, something could happen. The other side of that, we do have people that are ambulance chasers, as we used to call them, right? And so there could be some allegations made that are not based in fact. So both sides really need some protection in those cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a concern with the home-based businesses. You just, it's something that there is more vulnerability, right? There, if someone's in your home.
Yeah, and you at the beginning of this, you talked about if you own a brick and mortar type thing, you plan on certain types of insurance, slip and fall insurance, those kinds of things. But if you own a home-owned business, a home-based business, have you thought of slip and fall if you have clients coming to pay you or do an analysis of whatever project you're doing or any of those kinds of things? I mean, there's so much that happens in a brick and mortar that also could happen in a home-based, right?
Right. Yeah. And I would really encourage people not, again, this is like my refrain of the day, like, don't be skimpy with your insurance. I mean, granted, I was probably, I know this actually, I was one of like the 10 law students who took insurance law in the entire year, my year of law school, that it was offered. Okay. So I like insurance, full disclosure. But it is something that, most of the types of coverage, besides just like straight premises liability coverage, it's a good idea to explore those. You're going to want what's known as an umbrella, right? As an operator, you're going to want, some kind of CGL. You're going to, commercial general liability. You're going to want, all of these things when it really comes down to it. And are you going to enjoy that there's, a $2,000, $4,000, whatever, check that you have to write? No, not especially. But you will sleep better.
Well, and another big thing, and this is not on anybody's radar, especially if they have a home-based business, but it's maybe one of the biggest things in insurance and liability right now, and that's data privacy and the theft of data. So if you're trying to run your home-based business on your personal computer, talk about that a little bit, Laura.
Oh my gosh, that is a huge risk. Yeah, I think, it's something that franchising has been a little slow to pick up on. I don't see cyber liability as a required coverage very often unless, they've really thought about it. And, with these home-based ones, especially, they are a ripe opportunity for people to steal information, right? All they have to do is, just grab a couple envelopes off your, kitchen counter, and you probably wouldn't even notice, because I don't know about you, but I have a whole stack of mail. 3 envelopes is not going to make a dent. in what's missing. So, it would be very easy. And so you need to think about that. Both running your computer, things are not secure. You don't have that level of security on your Wi-Fi, whatever it is, or if you're going to a coffee shop, those kind of things are not secure. And most business owners, again, it's a cost question. Are you logging into public Wi-Fi to, check your bank? And people don't think about it, right? They hope the best. They hope that the Chase app or whatever is secure enough to withstand whatever gets thrown at it. So, I don't know, make good choices, folks. That's,
yeah. Well, Laura, as always, amazing information, something franchisees need to really pay attention to. So thanks for everything that you've got for us today.
Of course. Thanks, Jerry. Good to chat with you all.
You too.
And we'd like to thank you all for joining us on the show today, as we had Josh York of GYMGUYZ here. And please be sure to like, share, and comment on this episode, as well as any of the ones that are posted in the past. If you'd like to take a look at those, they're there as well. And thank you to Jerry Akers and Ray Pillar, our $1 Million mentors, for their insight and wisdom. And to Andrea Mundy, our contributor today, and to Laura List for her legal insight. Thanks to Fred McMurray and Elizabeth Denham for all of their work on producing the show. And I am Kristin Selmeczy, your second, or actually third $1 Million mentor. And together, we are your resource for franchising success. This has been yet another episode of Pillars of Franchising, and the dream starts here.
Franchising.